Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our July Phase 2 advisory board meeting. So we'll kind of start a roll call. Stephen Bowman? Here. Lieutenant Brett?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Diane?
Yes, I'm here.
Jay?
Here.
Tricia?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Letitia?
Here.
And Detective Sergeant Dubrow? Are you on? Okay, all right. All right, so we're going to start with the review and approval of the last meeting minutes. Coral?
Good afternoon. Our last meeting was held on June 12th. The meeting minutes from May 8th were reviewed and approved. And I do a year page of the On page 2, there was an update regarding support outreach, followed by a policy and decision review. Continue with 3 oral items and a brief discussion following. Discussion continues on to page 3. Followed by another oral item, 2 registration items. And then a title and a registration item continue on to page 4. Middle of page 4, Ms. Timmy provided a financial review. Mr. Johnson began project updates, followed by dealer services, portal and fleet. Top of page 5, Ms. Freeman provided an update on SIRP, followed by Ms. Thomas with titles and registration, and Ms. Espinoza with global dispatch. Meeting was adjourned at approximately 4:16 p.m. And the handouts for the meeting are provided on our page 5. Any corrections? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone on the phone?
Aye.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have the IBMV updates for Phase 2. Ellie?
Hello, everyone. So this report is the May report, so it's as of June 14th. The risk rate is currently amber. The project schedule performance index is at 0.98, so that's steadily increasing to 1.0. 11 out of 1,400 tasks are late, and right now we have not gone into our predictive state where the earned value measures are leveled out enough to show you some of those, but pretty soon that will be, we'll have an updated point to start the forecast, so late milestones and things like that. You will notice on this slide, last month there were 4 yellow facets, and now there's 2. One of the deficiencies was closed, and that turned 2 of the facets green. So time management and resource management are now green. So there's only one deficiency left, and that one's in program governance. A lot of those things are in place. It's just waiting, or are being put into place. It's just waiting on those to get approved and formalized. So you'll start to see now this graph is going to show you the trend of having less deficiencies open. Key indicators, again, are still right where we would expect them to be. And you'll see the trend line from the STS EPI is starting to trend towards the middle of the bullseye. We are in the green, and we're trending towards the very middle where we like to see it. But anything within the green is not a concern. Also, the planned value, you're starting to see that line get thinner. You want to see it where those two equal each other. The one right before that, this one is one of the graphs that we've added this last month. It's not going to show the trend yet, but what this is, the next slide will show you where the milestones are, and when we start to use EVM data to forecast out how late the schedule may be, you'll see different data points as to the key milestones. This is the one where we took the project complete date and said, okay, over time, what is that slippage doing? Is it trending positively? Is it trending negatively? So this will be a really cool graph once we start to get those data points. And this is what drives that. So you'll start to see it's got that wild swing that we've talked about before, but it's starting to trend inward. This is the open deficiency about program governance. Again, those are the actions that have been put into place. We're starting to see the charters are going to be updated with impacts for motorist modernization. A Gartner study was done, so a lot of progress has been made to that one. So process improvement updates. This is the summary of changes. So we did change the two yellow facets to green, as well as the CMMI, the maturity of those two improved as well. And the open deficiency that's still left. I think the final thing is the schedule quality is still at a 96.2, so looking good there. Any questions on the deficiency that was closed or any items? All right, thank you.
Next on the agenda is the stakeholder outreach update. The update that we have here is that, during our last meeting, we talked about scheduling a time for the tax collectors meet to come back to Tallahassee. I think they were here once before, which is something that they got approved about a year ago. One of the steering committee meetings was having tax collectors meet to participate on the title team, the registration team, and then Jessica's team, which is inventory, global, miscellaneous, kind of the catch-all for everything else. Et cetera. But anyway, that date is, when are they coming?
I think it's July 23rd.
The week of July 23rd. So they're going to be here. I think the original date, we had said that people were not able to come, so we had to adjust the date. And I think there's only one or two that will not be able to come during that time. So they'll be here again, participating on the teams just as they did before. I think everybody now has their access to Blueprint.
Yes.
So they can do it, whatever they need to do in Blueprint for helping with the design, with the requirements. And now as we move into requirements validation, they can all participate in that. So there's nothing outstanding when it comes to a Blueprint or access or anything like that, correct? Okay. All right, policy and decision review for phase 2.
All right, the first item is Portal 02, and this is in reference to fleet service processing as well as electronic titling and credentialing services for some of our stakeholders. In the last meeting, we had talked about taking this issue to legal in order to get a legal opinion. We're still, that particular issue is still under review by legal. Our next item.
Hang on, Jude, is there any comment from the general comment from the public? Any public comment on this issue? Okay.
Our next
This
item.
hang on just a second, Lieutenant Bray here. You're asking legal for an opinion for what, the legalities of fleet services to expand, or for banks and credit unions to expand?
To be able to offer certain services to banks, credit unions, some of our external stakeholders such as the large rental car companies, Sunshine State does some of this work as well, things of that nature.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. The next item, Portal 03, had to do with motor vehicle record sales. This item is closed. We provided those stats to both the advisory board the last time as well as to ESC, and we're going to move forward with offering those services in the portal. The next item, which is Portal 4 and 5, each of those have to do with offering title services within the portal. We've had a couple meetings with, motor services on working through some of those logistics as to what type of transactions we can offer, what would be some of the, prerequisites of circumstances under which we would allow those services to take place. We're still having discussions with the business partners as to how we can move forward with this effort. So this particular item is still under review.
Well, I want to voice my concerns about the possible fraud. And I just want to get all this on the record, especially on behalf of the Tax Collectors Association. There's a huge concern about fraud, and then there's also the concern of how this is going to affect our offices. While I think it's a great idea to have it online, we're going to be impacted with the calls and correcting the errors that could happen. So I listened to everything the last time, and I've thought about it a lot, and I just want to issue my objections on behalf of the tax collectors about having this type of transaction online.
Okay. We'll note that and take it to ESC. Any other questions or comments for Portal 4 and Portal 5?
This is Lieutenant Brett. In reference to that, I want to follow up with that concern is, and I believe I've said this before, that anything online, if we cannot identify who is doing the processing, then we're going to have major problems down the line. And that's a identification process that will be well known and documented for certainties.
Okay.
All right. Get those noted and make sure they're noted in our meeting minutes. And also, we have a ESC meeting next week and also steering committee meeting Thursday. So both of those opportunity maybe to talk a bit more.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Judy.
Portal 6 has to do with the kiosk, phase 2 of kiosk services and what transactions we're going to allow to be processed through the kiosk. We presented a spreadsheet to ESC. We still haven't had a chance to fully vet that and walk through that to get their decision on those services, so this is still up for review.
Okay, registration 01, this is for the residential address change on a motor vehicle transaction where they might not replace their driver's license and change their address. There's no update for the advisory board on this one. We have to take it to ESC with the stats that Natasha gave us and see what their decision is, whether to email the notices out to the people or I'm going to give them the suggestion that the advisory board had to print the notice at the counter. So there's no update for the advisory board. Registration 04, should the citizen do an admittance check prior to approval of a renewal. We sent a email to AMBA on June 11th. We're waiting on a response. They've been sending emails back and forth with questions, but we haven't got a definite answer from them yet. So we're waiting to hear back from AMBA on registration 04. On the back page, Title 01, should the motor vehicle issuing system pre-populate the vehicle information? Again, no update. We need to take this to ESC, and we're going to recommend closing it based on their last update on the 17th of May, when the RAP committee met with the ESC talking about the event intelligence, and then we're going to see what happens in the next 12 months. And then decide if we're going to change whether we would pre-populate or not. So there's no update for the advisory board on that one. And registration 05, should the system perform an endless check on the registration-only transactions? Currently, endless is only ran on title transactions. Once again, we have to take this to ESC You guys gave us your, concerns on the last meeting, and we took note of that. We need to talk to FHP. Lieutenant Britt also had concerns about this. We're gonna start meeting next week with the registration team again for our requirements validation, and we're gonna talk to our FHP team members and get their opinion about what they think about their concerns with the fraud and stuff. So, and, you know, you guys stopping on the counter, intervening or whatever, so, hopefully we'll have an update on that one our next meeting.
Is there, and I apologize, is there any comment from visitors or public on any of these issues? I forgot to ask about each one. Any comments from anyone? Okay. All right. All right, so next would be the financial review.
This financial report is as of June 30th. So we've closed out fiscal year 17-18. And as we have discussed, our budget for 17-18 is $9.8 million. We actually expended $9.8 million of that, leaving us a balance of approximately $1,200 in the contracted services. There's still an outside chance they'll be expended. He's working on some numbers. But we are rolling in budget. Over, and we come to over budget category in phase 1. And then phase 2, 17-18 was $4.1 million. We expended $4.131 million instead of $4.32 million. So we're very close. The remaining funds for 17-18 is $341. So we did pretty good coming down the wire at the end of the month. For the next fiscal year, we're starting July 1, we have a $5 million budget, 4.3 is in contracted services, IBMV services, a little bit less than that, but that was what we originally budgeted. We have some expense and then a little bit of OCOM. We're currently working on LDR and 4Ds for this current or upcoming legislative session, so that's our push in the next few months. Is there any questions?
Kristen, you looked at anything? Okay. All right, project updates for an overall phase 2 update. Nathan, can you walk us through where we are overall?
Sure, thank you, Jared. So on the last page of your packet is the software report for phase 2. So off the green here, where we're at in the project is that all of these have completed the initial requirements report, which is all of the user stories, the functional requirements, the process flows, and the mock-ups for all of the to-be processes and screens and functions in the new system. So what we're pivoting to now is requirement validation, and this will take us basically the next year to go through and do the lower level rules behind all of the processes. So as I mentioned, we understand the processes. We've taken the as-is and designed the to-be based on that, combined processes where it makes sense, separating things where it makes sense. And then requirements validation is next, where we really take a look at the rules to make sure that the system is applying all the real validation and all calculations that it needs to. So that's what all the teams are pivoting to work on now. The last line here, the gap analysis report, what the teams are working on, and we'll be closing out this week, is going back to that gap analysis report where we looked at the reverse engineering plus all of these suggestions and ideas and making sure that we have a home for those in the design for the new system. So we're circling back to make sure that we've done that, and then that becomes a deliverable for the program, and that's due at the end of this week. But other than that, all of the to-be requirements are complete. So I have some overall numbers across the 16. So just raw counts of user stories, which are functional requirements, 3,651 across the 16. We have 404 business processes represented. We have 416 new screen mockups that we designed. 0 of those are from the FIRP team because that team did not create any mockups pending the procurement of a cost system for the FIRP system, but they did document user stories and processes, and we'll map those to whatever system is decided on there. So that's the overall, raw counts. We compared to phase one. It is in line roughly with what we had in phase one at this point, in the project. We would expect that those, numbers would, shift slightly as we go through validation and decide, okay, these user stories, maybe we split these up so we can, take them at a more granular level. Also, what we'll be doing in requirements validation is overall sizing and estimating what it's going to take to actually develop these systems from a development standpoint, also to test them and make sure that they're ready to go. So that's the overall project update.
All right, and I think we're also at the point where not only do we have SMEs, the tax collectors also provided members of focus groups. I think we have a title focus group registration, and then one for inventory, right? So I think we're at the point also, since we're starting validation, we probably schedule meetings with those focus group members and start letting them see some of the requirements we have already and let them also participate in the validation, just, have a session with them so they can see what we have. And since our meeting spot in Orlando is no longer, I might be reaching out to somebody sitting close to me about
I can help.
booking her conference room, maybe having that meeting come. I don't know if there's a place that we can get everybody
We'd be happy
together.
to have you.
All right, so we can work on a time to schedule that, just pick a week and titles read for one day, and then the next day do inventory and go over to whatever. So we'll start scheduling that, but I think this is the right time to do that. Individual reports, Jessica, I know, I'm going to give us an update. I know you have perhaps coming back in to do a presentation or whatever, so.
Yeah, so Pride has been reaching out to us to find out what the pain points are right now with inventory. We've had 2 meetings with them so far. The last time we met was about 2 months ago. And since then, we've asked them to give us kind of a demo of what they provide currently for other people they do business with. And we're getting ready to schedule that sometime within the next couple of weeks. Aside from that, we'll have the tax collectors here at the end of July for a week just to do our regular requirements validation with them in the room with us. And then currently, as Nathan mentioned, we're reviewing the gaps, making sure that we didn't miss anything when we did the initial requirements report.
Okay. And Nathan, I know Laura's not here recovering, but you're going to give an update on just the RFP.
Right, so for the IRP, the team has seen system demos for the companies that had responded to the RFI. And so now the team, as I mentioned, they've finished the initial requirements and for what they need to see in the phase 2 solution. And so they're working on actually drafting the ITN to set up for the procurement. That's what they're working on now.
And I was able to get a couple of examples from a couple of states before waiting to AMPA of their procurement documents, so we can also use those to help us when we start that process. All right, CT, you have anything for titles registration?
Just that we're going to start back up with our team meetings probably next week, so we can start our requirements, validations, and getting that stuff documented in Blueprint. So we'll be reaching out to our SMEs and be sending them updates for their calendars and stuff. Titles on Monday morning and probably afternoon, and registration on Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon. If not more than that, we'll probably need to meet 3 or 4 times a week. So.
And any issues with that process, especially with the tax collector personnel being remote, that's still working fine?
Yes, everyone's participating. They're very vocal on the phone, so, and we like that. It took them a little while to get vocal, but they are now.
I think having them up here
It
together
was great.
really broke the ice.
Yes.
Because I've noticed with my person, she seems to be much more comfortable now.
Yes.
So.
And we're looking forward to them coming the week of the 23rd, because I think it helps the team as a whole, because, we can work together, and, I think they feel like they have more input when they have hands-on. So, yeah, if we can do that more often, that would be great.
Felicia, you're?
Okay, well, first, we are working on, we're waiting on the business side to give us new procedures for our regional inspections, because the state is gonna be doing more of that instead of less, since the decision was made that it's no longer privatized. So they have, submitted a proposal for a change to the process so that they can accommodate the influx of work they're gonna have. And so as soon as they get the approval for the process change, they're gonna share that with us so we can include that in our functional requirements. We continue to work on completing, the review. I think yesterday afternoon, we had bumped up from the 71%, so we're in the 80s now, so we're trying to close in that gap because we have everything completed by Friday. So we're working on that. And the other thing is, we do have some team members that are from the field, from the department, that will also be coming up the week that the tax collectors will be coming up. We have some teams that are from manufactured housing and some from dealer licensing that will be participating in that process. That's where we're at. And started quality assurance team and SEVs are also participating in our meetings now, so we're sharing the wealth and trying to glean as much information as we can from, all persons, so all hands are on deck.
Judy?
Yes, ma'am. The forum team, we actually will start resuming our meetings, this week. We added a couple additional meetings. In addition to Thursday mornings, we're also going to be meeting Thursday afternoon, as well as Wednesday mornings as well.
Okay. Cheryl?
The phase two teams have, scheduled, in their schedule quarterly, all hands meetings, and the week of the 23rd, the taxpayers are gonna be up there.
Everybody?
Tax collectors will be up here, will be the first one, and so it's kind of equivalent to a kickoff meeting, but they've got those scheduled quarterly all the way through till mid next year. Purpose of those meetings, well, initially it will be to talk about the state of the project, and, where things are and how it's going, and just, allow people to ask questions about, different aspects of the project, coming activities and,
Yeah, sure. Well, we're planning to continue these quarterly meetings throughout the duration of the project as well. And the focus will be making sure that the entire team is all together in one place to look and understand what's coming, what the dependencies are. We want to make sure that the different teams aren't just focused on what they're working on, they can really understand what's being worked on the other teams as well. So we'll have the first one.
And I'd like to, say here, if there's anyone, I've mentioned this last time, and to all, especially to the advisory board, members of any businesses as well, if there's any group that you think we need to meet with, please let us know now. Now's the time. We're going through validation, trying to make sure we have the requirements. We want to make sure we hear from everyone. I know internally there's some folks in the department who told me earlier today that there's some groups perhaps that I need to reach out to and meet with. So we just want to make sure that we have talked with everyone that might be affected or might have thoughts or ideas of how we can make the system better or how we can do things differently. We're open to all of that. We have a governance process in place, so we bring all those things in. We submit all of it through the teams, and even some of the things the team goes, oh, we're not really sure about that. We still kick that through the advisory board, and then it goes to the ESC as well. So, and we track all of those things that we hear. So I want to make sure if you think of someone that we should meet with, please, if you don't let me know, or to send it to our motorist modernization email box, motorist modernization, FL.HW.gov, so we'll know and we'll reach out to that group and make sure that we give them an opportunity. So, Cora, is there any type of communication update that we have? No? No? No. Okay, sorry. All right, wow. Well, you get 30 minutes back again for phase two as well.
I have a question.
Okay.
You talked about testing. Are you gonna need tax collector help with that?
For phase two, most definitely. Now, we're still, yeah.
I
we're
just
still
wanna
waiting
kind of
away,
put it
but
out
yeah.
there so they kind of know what's coming and.
When
Yeah,
Right
we're a year away from that.
knowing that answer?
No, we're a year away from needing that because we haven't started development yet.
Right.
It will be once we start development.
Yeah.
And so we're still doing requirements validation, so we have.
Next summer.
Yeah. Or later, yeah, so. Later. Because we are slated to start development in July, and we've got to go through probably several sprints or development cycles before we have anything that will be ready to test. And I think Barb likes to bring people up once we have a transaction.
That was gonna be my
ready to
next
test
question. Are
from
you gonna want
beginning
them
to
up
end.
here,
Right.
or?
And it will be up here, so we're over a year away from having them to that point. Right now, the help that we need from them would be the focus group members participating and looking at the requirements and the SMEs coming up, so.
Would there be a problem if the testers were also in the focus group?
No. Any other questions?
We're gonna talk about this.
Yeah, so that's, that sheet you have there is the legal opinion document, and, the 3 items belong to the portal, and so they're still under review. We haven't, gotten a response from them yet. So, once we get a response, those are actually connected to the ones that were in the legal, and the other.
Any other questions? You sure? All right, thank you all. I know,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I.
Yeah,